right? But see, what I don't hear is, Phil, you look like somebody that lives with depression and anxiety. Phil, you look like somebody that was suicidal for 15 years, every day, 5 to 6 times a day. They don't say, Phil, you look like somebody that was driving on Interstate 95, wanting to crash your car to end your life. No. Because see, here in America, when we think about mental health, we think about the homeless man who's walking the streets, talking nonsensically to himself. We think about the white celebrity who takes their life via suicide. We think about the white mass murderer who goes into a high school and takes the lives of innocent children. Or it's usually your president who loves to tweet venom from the hip. But see, rarely does the conversation speak of a father of 2 kids, someone who possesses a master's in exercise science, a master's in social work, somebody pursuing a doctorate. Rarely is it a person of color. Rarely is it a black man like myself, until now.
Peace, it's the Hood Mystic representing www.hoodmystic.com. Today we're going to be discussing black mental health. The title of this video is Trauma and PTSD. I based this off of peer-reviewed studies. The links would be on the website. Actually, the references will be on my website. The links will be provided in the description if you want to seek further information. So let's just get into this. We live in a patriarchal society, and this seems to be all you need to say when referencing men. And if we live in a patriarchal society, things are set up for men, then men should have it made. But if everything in the society is for men to thrive, then we have no excuse to complain or can say what's going on with us. We are here to produce, we are here to protect, we are there to provide, and if we don't fit in those roles, then we are not thought of. If we are in any type of adverse situation, then we must have done something wrong to create it. We must have deserved it. But whenever the topic of mental health of melanated males is brought up, it's either glazed over, outright dismissed, unaddressed, or minimized. And this is partly due to defensive listening. And most people suffer from this when they don't take in consideration what that person is saying in his viewpoint. They feel personally attacked by what they're saying. And people generally get the wrong impression for when you state simple facts, when you say simple things that are going on with you. And so they may find an issue with what I'm presenting here, but I'm not doing anything but presenting facts and hopefully moving us towards a solution. I know that a video on YouTube will not solve the world's problems, but I at least want to say I notice it, and maybe you don't notice it, and maybe I could possibly bring awareness to this fact. So let's talk about it. All black males are exposed to trauma, either directly or indirectly, while having no real solution for the trauma they face. Our fathers, brothers, and sons are suffering the most, and they're getting the least treatment. Since we do live in a patriarchal society, black men are the de facto boogeymen, the scapegoat for the world, for us all to place our blame on, which provides the reasoning for the benign neglect. Trauma occurs to us all in 4 major ways: by being a direct victim of trauma, by witnessing trauma to someone else, or learning of trauma from someone we are close to. Finally, the exposure to aversive cycles of traumatic events, and this is something that we'll talk about later. So, outside of black men, the context of black men, trauma within itself is a major public health and medical issue, and melanated males 18 and older are at a noticeably higher risk. Black males are murdered 26.77 per 100,000 compared to 2.67 per 100,000 compared to white males. This indicates a perpetual cycle of trauma, which leads to more unresolved trauma, which creates more trauma. Trauma leads to what is called post-traumatic stress disorder, which results in depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and also the perpetration of violence. And with all these stats that indicate that black males need the most attention, it turns out, in fact, that they get the least. And for this reason, we do not know the true relationship between trauma and melanated men and how bad it affects the community, which within itself is what would be called a silent killer throughout our community. Within the community, you're required to be strong, protected, provider, and in that narrative, there is no space to be a victim. This idea does not promote men to say when they are mentally disturbed or suffering from emotional pain. And for this reason, a majority of black men do not seek mental health and continue on this vicious cycle of trauma that leads to more trauma, that leads to more trauma. Black men are killed daily more than any group of people in the country and have the worst health status of any sex group. Exposure to trauma directly or indirectly is a daily reality for black males. Exposure to trauma without medical attention, if it does nothing, it puts you at risk to experience additional trauma in the future. This cycle of trauma encapsulates the lives of many black men and subsequently the people that are connected to them, almost to no direct fault of their own. By addressing these barriers to mental health services specifically dedicated to the melanated male, trauma survivors, both directly and indirectly, will then lead to creating a healthier and thriving society. It will take a collective effort, though, by those who call black men dad, brother, or son, uncle, or cousin, to begin to create a safe space for them to heal. The best thing we can do is learn to support each other at our worst times. The worst thing that we can do is imagine that we are not affected by trauma. This issue doesn't only affect black men. Based on the fact that black men are a part of this universe and all humans play a part to the larger whole, we are a non-separable part of the collective, and our state of mind has a direct relationship to your state of mind. The fact that you experience your thoughts as your thoughts alone is just a mere delusion to consciousness as a whole. The fact that you nor I am separated in truth, but only in a delusion, is the reason that we're having this conversation. The delusion of you in your individual self is the prison that we find ourselves in until we decide to deal with the whole. And the reason that we may not want to deal with the whole is because we have to deal with facts. So to conclude, I wrote this for people who may have not known this. You may have been ignorant of these facts, but what ignorance allows us is to advance in knowledge. The real problem is that we already know what people are going through without even asking them. Men have grown used to this benign neglect. We have grown used to this cycle of trauma so deeply that we don't even realize that it's happening. We can be so into our lives and we think that our lives are the entire world. Knowledge is something that we have and it's vast and it is a lot of information. But the larger part of us, the part that dwarfs the knowledge that we hold, is the amount of ignorance that we hold. But if we are able to say that that ignorance exists, then we're able to go into the direction of learning. And so by learning, we're able to move into the direction of healing and advancing as a collective, as opposed to just focusing on our personal successes and imagining that's all we have to worry about. Because trauma is non-local. What affects me affects you and affects the person next to you. People usually understand their problems in reference to their own personal life, and they're not always aware of the complex links between their lives and the rest of the world's history. So with that said, please be sure to visit hoodmystic.com, check the references. This was just a short little quick video about something that was on my heart, something that I'm personally going through now as we speak, and something that I'm working through. And the best way that I work through is to just, do research and get on this little YouTube channel and talk. So I'm glad you took the time to listen. If you have a man in your life, don't just assume that everything is okay. And maybe you're just gonna say, you know, is everything all right? And they'll say, yeah. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about creating a space for them to share and express their deepest fears, their deepest anxieties, as a space to begin to heal. And maybe you feel like that's not your place and that's not your role. Advise men to seek mental health solutions. Advise men to talk to somebody, to talk to medical professionals. Don't advise them to hold this stuff in and let this slowly destroy them internally. So with that being said, I hope you found this video useful. Please like this video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Please share this video because you do not know who this could help. You do not know how this could change the direction in someone's life. So with that said, peace.